I kissed my fiancé's partner during a party game and confessed, thinking it was harmless. He publicly played the video to shame me and called off the engagement. Why was he so cruel to me? I have been replaying that night for days like someone rewinding a scene with their finger glued to the remote. There is no pause that can save me, no zoom that can change what happened. If I'm writing this, it is because I need to let it all out at once, like when you drop a very heavy box and hear the thud against the floor. Maybe someone will read this and recognize themselves in my words before crossing the line that I crossed with a simple, "It was a dare." My name is Laura, and 2 months ago I had a simple and clear life. A shared apartment with my fiancé, a wedding date set, a guest list, the illusion of a life together that sounded like a beautiful routine. Diego, my ex, because I cannot bring myself to call him anything else, is one of those coherent men, the kind who do what they say and don't overpromise. A data engineer, obsessive with details. I, on the other hand, work in marketing for a mass consumer brand, creative, messy with files, but quick to solve problems. We were a decent combination. He was the structure, I was the spark. We had plans, a joint fund for the wedding, an Excel sheet with budget tabs, and even the color of the flowers coordinated with the napkins. All of that existed before one Friday night. It was the birthday of Camila, my coworker. They had the party at a friend of hers apartment, 18th floor, city view, warm lights, a 90s playlist. I arrived straight from the office, still in my blazer and with my hair tied up with a clip. Diego could not go. The day before, he had stayed late deploying I don't know what in the cloud, and Friday turned into Saturday for him, fueled by coffee. He gave me a kiss on the forehead when I left. Have fun, but please, don't forget that tomorrow at 9 we have an appointment with the florist, he told me half asleep, with that deep, low voice that disarms me. I will be there at 9 sharp, I swear, I replied, making the sign of zipping my lips. I broke my own oath 3 hours later, not with the florist, but with us. The party had the usual script: welcome chats, tequila with orange and cinnamon because of some Instagram trend, tables with cheese platters, a couple of makeshift high tables with wooden boxes, and the typical group that takes over the kitchen as if it were a bar. I said hello to everyone, the first laugh, and the music took away my fatigue. Camila introduced me to Daniel, the friend of a friend, and 2 of his colleagues from the co-working space, among them a guy named Esteban whom I had seen before at a brand event. Esteban was the type who speaks with confidence without asking for permission, the kind who always has a joke ready. I did not like him, but I did not dislike him either. I mean, if the night were a picture, he would be out of focus in the background, until he was not. At midnight the game started. Yes, adults playing truth or dare, with red cups and a guy yelling rules like a soccer referee. I don't know why no one refused. Maybe because at that hour the lights feel softer and everything sounds less serious. Truth or dare is that trap disguised as innocence. It does not force you, but it pushes you. First dance with whoever looks at you first, then sing the chorus of such and such song. The level of silliness increased with each round. I did a couple of silly dares, I laughed. I felt that rush of childish adrenaline. Laura, it is your turn, announced the improvised referee. Truth, I said with the false confidence of someone who thinks they are in control. Have you ever regretted something that Diego does not know about? Camila asked with that gleam that shared morbid curiosity gives. I laughed, I evaded. I said something generic about not having taken advantage of certain opportunities in college. Approved. The round continued. When it was my turn again, there was already a coin in the air that everyone was pushing without touching. Dare, I said, brave from the drink. You have to kiss the person to your right for 30 seconds, someone sang out. It was Esteban. I turned and there he was, on my right, with that half smile that you don't know if it is friendly or competitive. People applauded. Someone counted, 1, 2, 3. And I hesitated for a second, which was not a second, it was a choice. I had no on the tip of my tongue, but I did not say it. I got closer, we got closer. The kiss started like an accidental collision, like when the tip of your nose brushes against something that was not on the map. But in 5 seconds it was no longer a game. I hated it and enjoyed it in equal measure, like a catchy song you are ashamed of. There was tongue. There was that hand on my lower back that I should have removed. I did not. 27, 28, 29, 30. The poor 30 seconds felt long and short at the same time. Someone whistled, someone yelled, "That is it," and someone I did not know it that night recorded it. I pulled away, wiped my mouth, made that silly gesture of fixing my hair as if that would fix the other thing. Esteban smiled with the confidence of someone adding an invisible trophy. I went back to the table as if I were not dragging a thread of guilt behind my steps. I poured myself some water, I breathed. I continued the party on autopilot. Around 2 in the morning, I left with that incomplete drunkenness where judgment has not disappeared, but it is slipping away. In the elevator, I checked my cell phone, a reflex. I had a message from Diego. "Did you get home okay?" I had not left yet. I put the phone away again and waited for the guilt to dissipate as if it were a cloud. It did not dissipate. In the taxi, I wrote, "I'm on my way home now, love. I love you." I sent it. It did not erase the kiss, but it was the first bandage I put on myself. I arrived. I washed my face like someone cleaning up a crime with cold water. I lay down next to him. I hugged him. I felt his slow breathing, his warmth, and I promised myself that the dare was a nameless episode that would stay in that borrowed apartment. I woke up with a dry mouth and the same twisted promise. We made coffee. We talked about the florist, the menu. Diego showered and sang. He sings terribly, but he sings anyway. And for a second I thought I could go on as if nothing had happened. The world has that habit of carrying on as if one has not messed up. At 8:51, 9 minutes before the appointment with the florist, Camila sent me a voice message, laughing. "Girl, you were on fire last night. That dare was." Holy, she cut off the word. Esteban still says he is going to remember your kiss for months. By the way, I don't know who it was, but someone recorded it. Don't panic. I already asked them not to share it. Anyway, it looks more like laughter than anything else. I love you. I felt like a bucket of ice was thrown on my stomach. The world went on. Diego came out of the shower, asked for the keys, looked for the measuring tape for the florist's table. I nodded. I said, "Uh-huh, they are in the drawer," and I swallowed the bucket. During the appointment, I heard words like lisianthus, eucalyptus, wildflower bouquets, and I responded without hearing myself. When we left, Diego squeezed my hand. "Are you okay?" "Yes, I just did not sleep much." He looked at me with that way he has of evaluating data and moved on. We ate something at an empanada stand near the parking lot. I was chewing guilt and nothing else. Saturday could have been saved if at 4:17 in the afternoon I had not received another message. A link, an unknown number, a 35-second video. You could see the living room, the people, me laughing. You could see Esteban, you could see my face when we got close, and you could see what should never have been seen. I went cold. It was not heat or fever, it was cold. My own body disgusted me. I turned off the cell phone, I turned it back on. I wished it was a mistake. It was not. I watched it 3 times. Each time it was worse. I threw up in my parents' guest bathroom because that Saturday we stopped by their house to bring them some menu tastings. Diego noticed I was pale. He rubbed my back. "Are you really okay?" I, a coward, said, "I think something I ate disagreed with me." In the evening, I could no longer contain the secret. The lie was slipping through my hands like burnt oil. At 11:30, in our living room, with the lamplight making an island, I told him, "I need to tell you something about last night." Diego put his laptop aside. His face was neutral, like a blank page. "I'm listening." I told him that at the party they had played Truth or Dare, that I took a dare, that I had to kiss someone for 30 seconds. I explained that it was a game, that I got carried away, that it was wrong, that I hated it. I said too much and too little in the same paragraph. I did not mention the video, I did not mention the hand on my back, I did not mention the tongue. I said a kiss, as if that reduced it to a trivial gesture. "Who?" he asked without raising his voice. "Esteban, a friend of a friend." "And why did you not say no?" Silence. There was no good answer. Because I was afraid of looking like a spoilsport, because ridiculously I liked being looked at, because I thought it did not matter. All that was going on inside. I don't have an explanation that will work for you, I lamented. A word I did not want to use came out, but guilt brings out clumsiness. Diego breathed. He did not throw a fit. He did not make a scene. He did not throw his coffee cup like in a soap opera. He stayed still, and that hurt more. Thank you for telling me, he finally said. I need to think. I nodded. I wanted to hug him, but I did not know if I had the right. We slept on opposite sides of the bed. The next day he got up early. He went for a run. He came back with his shirt soaked in sweat and a look clear with decisions. He made me coffee. I tried not to tremble. Laura, one thing. Someone recorded it, he dropped, like someone dropping a piece of information on a table. I choked. My composure shattered. I could not lie. Yes, I admitted and lowered my eyes. Do you have it? They sent it to me. I don't know who recorded it. Show me. I unlocked the cell phone with clumsy fingers. I passed him the video. He watched it only once, without blinking. When it was over, he placed the phone on the table with the delicacy of someone putting down something fragile. Thank you, he said, and went to shower. I thought he would come back with a suitcase. I thought he was going to say, this is it. He did not come back with a suitcase. He came back with a notebook. Diego always has a notebook. I need a week, he said. Let us not make hasty decisions. Let us talk calmly next Sunday. In the meantime, I ask you not to lie to me anymore, even by omission. If there is anything else I should know, tell me today. I swallowed. There was nothing more, no more facts, but more details. I told him about the hand. I told him that I reciprocated. It was not just receiving. I told him that I had liked it for those few seconds and that it disgusted me. He listened to me without taking inventory out loud. He wrote something in his notebook. I don't know what. The week was a silent purgatory. We saw each other like polite roommates. He went to the office, I went to mine. We took turns cooking. No one talked about the wedding. On Thursday, he asked me for the guest list to review protocol issues, and I sent it to him, grateful to have an excuse to believe there was hope. On Friday, I noticed he picked up his suit from the tailor and put it back in the closet, like you put away a promise that has not yet been decided. Sunday arrived, punctual like a dentist's appointment. He put his notebook down. He looked at me. I don't want to get married, Laura. The sentence hit with precision, without shouting. It was as if the floor was pulled out from under me, but gently so I would not fracture when I fell. I understand, I said without understanding anything inside. I'm not going to make a drama out of it. I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to air this with your family or mine. I'm just going to cancel everything and talk to the vendors. I want this to end without further damage. I nodded with a borrowed dignity. I wanted it to be that simple, but it was not. That same afternoon, Camila sent me another message. Hey, did Diego tell you anything about the welcome reception on Friday? He asked for my friend's contact to book the room on the 18th floor. He told me it is for a presentation of the wedding photos with the friends who could not make it to the engagement. How romantic. I read the message 5 times. We had not yet announced the cancellation. Why an event? That week Diego was methodical. He made calls, sent emails, shared screenshots of vendor cancellation confirmations and partial refunds with me. All clean, all correct. I was a shadow who signed where I was asked. On Thursday afternoon, he left a printed invitation on the table. Friday, 7:30 in the evening, room 18. End of summer, friends, and a toast. It did not say farewell. It did not say surprise. It said toast. What is this? I asked. A gathering to close cycles with friends, to say thank you, to return gifts, to not leave loose ends. Do you want me to go? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. That yes had an edge I could not read. So I went. I wore a simple black dress. I put my hair in a bun. I put on more foundation than usual so I would not look so tired. When I arrived, the room was decorated with bright lights, a screen, a table with wrapped boxes. There were drinks. There was a small table with desserts. There were people who loved us. Camila hugged me. My parents had been excused. According to what Diego told me, I preferred to talk to them separately to not expose them to anything uncomfortable. I was grateful for that delicacy without seeing that it was a trap. At 8:15, Diego asked for silence. He turned up the volume on some soft background music and stood next to the screen. "Thank you for coming," he said with his calm voice. "I will not take much of your time. This is a brief meeting." He smiled slightly. I thought, he is going to say we are breaking up and that we appreciate the affection. I relaxed a little. Then he clicked and the screen lit up with the title, Moments. We appeared in photos. The day we moved in, the time we made pasta at his parents' house, me blowing out candles, him on a bicycle. The people were touched. They let out coordinated, AWS. After 30 seconds, without transition, the video appeared. That video. 35 seconds that were now enlarged on a white screen in a room with more than 40 people. A nervous laugh broke somewhere. I heard my own laugh from that night, dragging me back by the hair. I wanted to die. I literally wanted to disappear into the air. Someone said, "What?" and the voice hung in the air. Camila squeezed my arm. I tried to speak and nothing came out. The video ended. The room was silent for a few seconds. Diego, with his notebook in his hand, did not blink. "That was last Friday," he said without drama. "So that no one finds out through gossip, I preferred that if this topic was going to circulate, at least it would be with context. I'm not going to tell a version. I'm not interested in revenge, I'm interested in clarity." Revenge, he said no, but it was. It was surgical, clean, and therefore more effective. "I'm not getting married," he continued. "I don't want you to think it is because of a silly fight or indecision. It is because of what you saw. I have nothing more to say than thank you for accompanying us in what was beautiful. The boxes you see over there are for returning gifts. I set aside parking vouchers so no one has to pay extra. And please, avoid sharing the video. I'm not going to chase anyone, but I ask you out of respect. Laura and I will talk to our families in private." There were no shouts, no insults. It was a notarial act with a scalpel in the middle. Then, as if he were a presenter, he said, "Now, if you will excuse me, I'm going to step out for a moment. Whoever wants to greet me, I will be in the hallway in 10 minutes. He stepped down from the stage and walked towards the exit. No one moved at first. Camila looked at me with a "what" face. I remained anchored to my chair. I felt the gazes scraping me. Someone said, "How sad." Someone whispered, "What a need." I thought of all the options and could not choose any. I got up clumsily. I went to the bathroom. I closed the door. I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not recognize myself. "Breathe," I told myself. And a broken laugh came out. I washed my face. That useless habit. I came out. A friend approached me. "Are you okay?" she asked me softly. I did not answer for the first time. "Do you want to leave?" I nodded. Camila picked up my purse like someone rescuing something from an accident. Someone touched my shoulder. It was Esteban. Yes. He had the audacity. "Laura, I did not think that this," he stammered. I looked at him with a mixture of anger and shame. I did not answer him. If I opened my mouth, I was going to spit out something I did not want to. We left. In the hallway, Diego was talking to two people. He had the posture of someone who decided everything days ago. He saw me pass. He did not stop me. I did not look for him either. Outside, the air seemed colder than usual. Camila called a car. On the way to my house, she sent me a message, "I'm sorry. I did not think. I did not think at all. I love you. I will be with you." I replied with a heart because I had no words. That night I could not get into the apartment. The lock gave me a strange beep. I tried again. Nothing. Diego had changed the code. It was his right. The apartment lease was in his name. I stood for a minute in the hallway with my black dress, clutching my purse and my dignity on the floor. I wrote to him. "It will not open. I need to get my things." He replied 5 minutes later. "I will be home tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I ask that we arrange a time for you to pick up your things. I don't want scenes. I will be there to avoid misunderstandings." Cold, correct, like someone sending instructions. I went to Camila's. I slept on her couch, dressed. I dreamt I was running down a hallway that never ended. The next day, at 10 sharp, Diego opened the door. He had dark circles under his eyes. He let me in. There were boxes with labels, Laura's clothes, Laura's books, Laura's kitchen. Each label was a fragmented me. There were no pictures of us on the shelf. He had already cleaned up the trail. "There is food in the fridge and coffee in the pantry in case you need it," he said. It was not cruelty, it was his way of being decent even in war. "Thank you," I said with a cracked voice. "I will be in the study. Let me know if you need anything." I packed. I folded t-shirts with the clumsiness of someone packing a suitcase to leave a country. I packed small things that you don't know are yours until they are not. The grater, a refrigerator magnet shaped like an avocado, an old charger. By noon I had everything. Diego came out with a manila folder. "Here are the refunds from the wedding, what corresponds to you. There is also the detail of what we lost together. We can square that when we can." I nodded. I looked at the paper as one looks at a sentence. "Diego," I said, and the name slipped out as if it were forbidden. "Tell me. I'm not going to apologize to you here. I already did, and it is no use. Just sorry for the humiliation I pushed you into." "You did not push me," he corrected. "I decided how to handle this. I did what I considered fair." I looked at him, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes that I had not seen all week. A glint not of hatred, but of finality. He closed the folder. He accompanied me with one of the boxes to the elevator. No one said, "Take care." I went down. This could be the end, but it was not. One would think the story is reduced to public shame and an empty apartment. No, an action rarely remains contained in its anecdote. It has ripples. Mine expanded in ways I did not imagine. On Monday, I went to the office with the idea of burying myself in tasks. At coffee time, 2 unrelated conversations fell silent when I entered the kitchen. At lunchtime, the marketing team's chat was unusually quiet. In the afternoon, I received an email from Human Resources with the subject, "Meeting, Review of Corporate Events Protocol." I thought it was routine. It was not. "Laura, thank you for coming," said Lena from Human Resources, with that professional smile they only use when there is bad news. "It is about a situation that occurred at an event where there were clients. On Friday, we received an anonymous complaint about inappropriate behavior involving an employee and a guest." That is when I knew the video had spread. They did not ask me if it was me. They asked me if I knew anything, if I could help identify. I could have lied. I could have blamed the beer. I could have said it was not at a corporate event, but there was a small one, a supermarket client, a friend of a friend, who was there and had seen and had said something. I told the truth with the fewest possible adjectives. It was me, I admitted. It was outside of work hours, but there were people from work there. I did not want it to be a scene. I made a mistake. Lena took notes. She explained that the company has a code of conduct that, even if one is off the clock, applies when clients are present or at events linked to the brand. She talked about behavior that can affect the image. She told me they were going to evaluate. It is not an immediate sanction. We are going to review. Please avoid talking about the topic. I left with a fixed knot in my stomach. That night, Esteban wrote to me about Human Resources. "Is everything okay? I don't want you to get in trouble because of me." And then another detail hit me. Esteban was a vendor. He had done campaigns with us. There were invoices, there were contracts. He was not a stranger from a bar, he was someone related to work. The mistake grew, with tentacles, like that spiderweb you don't see until it hits you in the face. Midweek, I was suspended for 3 days while they reviewed the case. It was the corporate version of sit down and think. I thought. I repeated to myself that I had mistaken a stupid joke for a cost-free act. I hated myself a little more. And while I was pacing my living room with a cup of tea, Diego continued with his own logistics. I knew because emails from vendors started arriving, copied to me, where he requested that the X% refund be deposited 50/50ths into the respective accounts, with his numbers and mine attached. Pure paperwork, but in one of those threads something appeared that froze me, a message from his lawyer. Attached is the engagement breakup agreement for your review, including the return of the ring and the registrable gifts delivered by the X family. It was not a lawsuit, it was a clean, self-contained agreement, and yes, included in there was the clause about not disseminating sensitive material. The irony cut through me like a handleless knife. On Friday of that week, I was folding clothes to distract myself when my mom arrived unannounced with a bag of bread and red eyes. "Your Aunt Monica sent me a video," she said without beating around the bush. She deleted it right away, but it is too late. "What happened, Laura? What were you thinking?" I did not know how to answer her. I sat down, I told her without embellishment. She did not yell at me. That would have been easy. She just said, "I did not expect this from you." Not out of moralism, but out of simple logic. There are things one can break, but there are others that shatter everything else. She stayed for an hour. She brought me soup in a thermos and left. She was no longer my scolding mom. She was a woman with secondhand embarrassment for her daughter. That night, for the first time, I cried without letting go. I cried ugly, with snot and noise. No one comforted me, and maybe that was for the best, because there was no worthy comfort. Esteban, on the other hand, started to fare worse on another front. His girlfriend, I did not know he had one, wrote to me on Instagram, "Thanks for the video. You saved me years." I did not reply. 2 days later, I received a screenshot from a group. Esteban had been removed from a bid with our company for undeclared conflict of interest. It was not Diego, at least not directly. It was compliance, those silent people who review lists and cross-references. Still, I cannot deny that I felt the tremor of his fall like a stone in my own stomach. From then on, I started to notice the pattern. Every decision Diego made was impersonal, but the effect was surgical. He did not yell, he did not insult me on social media, he did not defame me. He exposed me once in front of those who needed to know. He made sure my parents were not there. He handled the money like a notary. He cleaned his house of my things. He closed the chapter with a report and then let social physics do its work. He simply went on with his life with a neatness that, seen from the ground, looks like revenge. I moved into a tiny studio apartment. Camila lent me her cart for the move. I unsubscribed from our wedding registries. I sold the dress I had set aside with a girl's excitement. The tailor wrote to me, confirming fitting, and I replied, "No, thank you." I spent half of my savings to cover what was lost from the banquet. Sometimes I would just watch the ceiling fan go round and round, as if hypnosis would turn back time. One Sunday night, when I had gotten used to the silence of a new space, the doorbell rang. It was Diego. He did not come in. He handed me a small box. "Your printed photos," he said. They were in a drawer in my study. "Thank you," I replied, and waited for him to say something more. "I also came to ask you to return the ring. Not for its value, but to close things properly," he added. I had it stored in a small cloth bag in my nightstand drawer. I took it out. I placed it in his open hand. It was the most symbolic gesture I had made in months. He nodded. He put the small box in his pocket and left. We did not see each other again for weeks, but I knew about him tangentially, the way you learn about someone's life through echoes. A mutual friend told me he was promoted, that he was sent for a month to a project in another city, that he seemed calm. I, in parallel, received the formal notification, suspension for 5 days without pay, and a warning that any recurrence will affect your permanence. I did not complain. It was the least that could happen to me. And yet, the scene that finally broke me was still missing, the one that responds to the title of this story. The time he humiliated me in front of everyone was not just the video, it was what came after, a simple act that burst my pride like a balloon, my company's end-of-year event. We will get to that event in the next part. There you will understand why I say that Diego does not improvise, why his way of getting revenge was as clean as it was lethal, and how it ended up blowing up not only my reputation, but also my work connections, my circles, and my possibility of playing the victim. I threw it all away for a 30-second dare. He needed barely one to complete the scene. The company's end-of-year event arrived in December with that fake shine that lights have when you are feeling down. For me, it was a mixture of a final exam and a firing squad. I was coming off a suspension and a formal warning. I knew that many colleagues were following the video story like one follows a series in silence, but attentively. Human resources had been clear. Be careful with behavior in spaces with clients. 0 alcohol, a sober presence. I went in a dark blue dress and flat shoes, a folder with metrics in my hand, and the resolution to leave early after delivering a small report. I thought the danger was the open bar. I was wrong. The hall was decorated with candles and round tables. On the stage, a lectern with a logo, a large screen, 2 microphones. At the entrance, a totem with the agenda, "Welcome." Words from management. Guest speaker, "Ethics as a competitive advantage in data ecosystems." Recognition awards. Toast. The guest's name did not say much. Engineer DM, data architect. 3 letters. My stomach clenched. I did not want to think it was him. I repeated to myself that there are thousands of DMs. Camila handed me a glass of water. "Just water, I swear," she told me, half joking, half in faith. "Thanks," I replied and squeezed the folder tightly. At 8, the marketing director went up on stage. She gave her speech about goals, thank yous, resilience, a word that gets worn out at events. Then she announced the guest, and then it all happened in 2 seconds. "With you, someone who has been working with our analytics area on a pilot project for secure data segmentation, Engineer Diego Morales," she said and applauded. He went up with the same calm as always. Gray suit, white shirt without a tie. He waved, he looked at the room, he made the gesture of connecting his laptop to the console. The screen showed his desktop with perfectly organized folders. In the front row, my boss applauded enthusiastically. Camila, next to me, grabbed my wrist under the tablecloth. "Did you know?" she whispered. "No," I managed to say. I felt like my air was cut in half. Diego spoke without frills. "Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. I will be brief. 3 ideas, 1 case, 2 recommendations. Let us begin." He managed to silence the room without imposing it. He opened a slide, data, risks, and people. He spoke of traceability, of how a culture of integrity facilitates decisions, of the dangers of normalizing jokes that are not jokes when there are brands and clients around. It was not personal, it was a lesson in professional hygiene. Up to that point I was breathing. "Case," he said, and a neutral title appeared on the screen. A medium-sized company, a vendor, a social event. No names, no videos, a simple graphic, 3 intersecting circles. Private life, work life, shared reputation. In this story, he continued, a vendor with an active contract and an employee with a role of influence in purchasing coincide at a social gathering where there are also clients. What happens there apparently stays there. 48 hours later, there is no longer a record. There are rumors. There are impacts. The company must react, the vendor too. Work hours are lost, credibility, even business. He paused. When we normalize certain behaviors because it is after hours, we forget that the vector of damage enters where you least expect it. The room was still. On the right side, the purchasing manager nodded as if someone had finally put a name to what had been hovering around. Diego did not show the video. He did not have that scene in his hands again, and he did not need it. What was shown was a chart, possible consequences, loss of contract due to conflict of interest, internal sanctions, lists of ineligible vendors, codes of conduct. Then, recommendations, separate spaces, declare relationships, leave on time, end the night at a decent hour, don't record, don't share. He closed with a sentence that pierced me like a needle. Ethics is not a coat you put on when there is an audit, it is an operating system. If it fails, the whole software crashes. Applause. A standing ovation, even. The talk lasted 15 minutes. He did not mention my name, he did not show my face, he did not point at anyone. And yet, I felt that the light in the room was focused on me as if I were alone. Not because of him, but because of what was already public. When he came down from the stage, the manager hugged him. The management table surrounded him. I tried to go unnoticed, but chance has a good aim. The human resources director approached me with a diplomatic smile. "Laura, after the talk, can you stay for 5 minutes? We would like to discuss some adjustments to the event protocol and also some cross-checks we did with compliance." "Of course," I replied. The glass of water would no longer go down. Diego's gaze met mine from a distance. There was no triumph in his eyes. There was something akin to closure. Then he continued with the people. He did not approach me, nor I him. The night went on. They gave out awards, soft music played, white wine was served. I had another water. I wanted to leave, but I had to wait for the talk with human resources. Camila, who did not leave my side, was with me the whole time. At 9:30, the director called me into a smaller room. There they were, her, the legal manager, and a man from compliance whom I barely knew by sight. There was a folder on the table. "Laura," the director said, "let us be direct. Following what happened a few weeks ago, we reviewed the contracts with vendors. We found that Mr. Esteban R. has a commercial relationship with the company." I nodded. "And that there was interaction at a social event in the presence of clients. That, beyond the personal, puts us in a situation regulated by the manual, undeclared conflict of interest. I don't have a romantic relationship with him," I managed to say, as if that solved anything. "It is not necessary for there to be one," the compliance person intervened. "It is enough that there is a relationship that can be perceived as such, and the brand's image is at stake. We are not judging your private life, we are applying rules." They opened the folder, printouts of emails, an excerpt from the manual, the minutes of the suspension, and even a purchase order showing that Esteban had quoted for campaigns in the last semester. The legal manager spoke like someone reading a thermometer out loud. "The recommendation is to separate the vendor from the pool for 12 months and to initiate an internal process with you for breach of the code of conduct. The suggested sanction, an additional 5-day suspension without pay and withdrawal of client representation benefits for 6 months. I swallowed. "I understand," I said. "I assume my responsibility." "There is something else," the compliance person added, sliding another sheet. "Upon reviewing the processes with that vendor, we found an irregularity in one of the invoices. It does not involve you directly." He looked into my eyes to stop any gesture, "but it stands out in the approval traceability. The audit team is going to review it. Hopefully it is nothing, but we need your collaboration to understand the flow." I nodded. I did not feel anything anymore. That something else was going to have another ripple. I knew it. I left the room with a firm face on the outside and chaos on the inside. I leaned for a second on the hallway railing and breathed. Camila was waiting for me with our coats in her hand. "Shall we go?" she asked. "Yes, please." We went down the stairs. Before leaving, we ran into Diego. He raised his hand in a minimal greeting. I did the same. There was a suspended second between us. No apologies, no reproaches, just that second, like a coin falling without a sound. The following Monday, compliance requested all the documentation for the campaign with Esteban's agency, and the irregularity that seemed small turned into something else, a value charged twice, an art piece that had not been scheduled, an adjustment with hours that did not add up. Esteban, as a vendor, upon finding himself out of the pool, tried to get in through other doors. He insisted. He called Camila, he wrote to me. "I just want to talk," he sent with that short line that has served so many to slip in. Mine was not bad faith. I did not reply. I could not and should not have. The legal manager wrote to me, "Any contact from the vendor, refer to the area. Don't intermediate." It was a relief to have an instruction and to obey it. After 10 days, the audit finished its first phase. The result: alleged improper billing by the vendor and a breach of the manual on my part. I was informed of the plan sanction: 5 more days without pay, temporary removal from activities with clients, a mandatory training plan, and a reprimand that would remain on my record. I signed. I did not argue. Esteban, on the other hand, had a refund process opened against him and was included in the internal list of ineligible vendors for 3 years. They also informed his industry chamber. In practical terms, his company was marked. The blow was not immediate. It was a succession, a contract that was not renewed, a bid he was not invited to, 2 clients who requested a pause while the matter is clarified. I found out through third parties. He wrote to me again, this time without euphemisms. "I have already lost my girlfriend, my contract with you, and 2 more. Are you happy? Did you like that kiss so much for all this?" It arrived in my email, clumsy and aggressive. I took a deep breath. I did not reply. I forwarded it to legal. 15 minutes later, he received a formal warning for harassment. He did not write again. Up to that point, the the word ruin was an exaggeration. But ruin is not always a single fall into an abyss. Sometimes it is a staircase you go down step by step. In January, Human Resources evaluated cutbacks. On the list, my name appeared with a star, high reputational risk/sustained performance, but with a current sanction. I was not the worst nor the best, but on a spreadsheet, the risk weighed more than the complete history. They called me one morning. The manila envelope was ready. Retirement plan with benefits. We thank you for your services. We will support you without placement. I left with a small box. Camila hugged me on the corner with discreet tears. I swear this will pass, she told me, as if she could promise the weather. Don't swear, I replied. I have learned not to swear things I cannot control. I started looking for a job. In interviews, everything went well until they asked why I had left. I would breathe. I would say the most decent version, restructuring. Also, I had a sanction for a protocol issue at a social event. It was a learning experience. I can send the record. That also was a stone. Some faces remained neutral, others closed up a millimeter. 2 weeks later, a recruiter wrote to me without disguise. We like your profile, but we have a reference of a suspension and a vendor with a conflict of interest. We will not be able to move forward. I closed the email and stared at the ceiling. It was the first time I saw in cold letters the translation of my 30 seconds of a game. To support myself, I sold my old computer. I gave private digital marketing classes to 2 entrepreneurs in my building. I offered consulting by the hour. It was not enough. I called my bank to renegotiate a card I had used to pay for a part of the wedding that would no longer be. They agreed to defer at a rate that seemed to me the contemporary form of punishment. I adjusted my expenses. I canceled my gym membership. I sold the blue dress. I switched from whole bean to instant coffee. I stopped ordering delivery. I was learning to measure my days with short lists, send resumes, walk, wash dishes, don't look for the video, don't say, if only. Esteban, for his part, disappeared from the public radar for a while. One day in March I saw him from a distance in a small shopping center with a portfolio folder under his arm. He was walking fast, talking on the phone. He did not see me. I hid behind a column like a schoolgirl. I felt secondhand embarrassment and at the same time an old fury. I said nothing. Diego, on the other hand, became a luminous shadow through third parties. Someone told me he was promoted to architecture lead, that they recognized his serene and effective way of closing a complex matter, that he taught 2 seminars at universities, that his team respected him more. I don't know how much of that was benevolent rumor, but I imagined it to be real because it fit with his way of doing things, without noise, with papers in order. In April, my mom called to tell me she had seen Diego at a supermarket in my parents' neighborhood with a woman with short hair, a soft laugh. He looks good, she said. He looks at peace. I did not feel a stab. I felt an echo. I thought I was already at the bottom of the curve when the last twist came, the one that left me, now for real, with no room to move. In mid-May, I received a certified email. The company notified me that, based on a new compliance resolution, I was disqualified for a year from contracting or being a contractor in any area where there was a connection with vendors linked to the case that concerned us. It was not a total ban on my career, but in practice, given my skills, it closed the most immediate door for me, marketing consulting for medium-sized brands, the circuit where I was looking for clients myself. I tried to appeal. Legal explained to me kindly, but without leeway, that the measure was not personal. It was a standard that was applied to everyone who had been under compliance analysis in similar situations. They reminded me that there were no major blemishes on my record, that I was not on any public list, that it was temporary. I appreciated the clarity. I ended the call. I did not sleep that night. In the early morning, I opened an Excel window and with my old skills, I made a simple projection. Possible income, minimum expenses, debts, deadlines. The savings column was thinning before my eyes. I called Camila at 6:30, knowing she wakes up early. It is not enough, I told her before saying hello. Come to my place, she replied. We will do the numbers. I arrived with my papers. She made good coffee, the kind we used to buy without thinking. We did calculations and numbers and scenarios. Everything led to the same conclusion. I had to give back the studio apartment and move into a shared rental room. I cried. Yes, not screaming. I accepted with that quiet crying of someone who knows there is no pride left to save, only a roof to pay for. I posted the ad. A week later, a design student wrote to me. We closed the deal. I packed my things in 4 boxes and 2 suitcases. The photos Diego had given me back stayed in a small box that I did not open. During the move, my cell phone vibrated with an unknown number. I answered. Laura, good afternoon. This is Claudia from Talentos 360. We interviewed you in January. Our client is reactivating the position. Are you still available? I sat on the floor among the boxes. I said yes. We scheduled it. There were 3 interviews. The third one with the manager was the most frank. I know about the episode, he said. I know because in this industry everything is known. I'm going to ask you a simple question. What did you learn that is not a LinkedIn phrase? I breathed. To distinguish private from secret, I replied. What is private can coexist with what is professional if it is handled with care. What is secret is what one does hoping it will not be found out. I crossed that line and I did not just affect myself. I learned to leave on time. I learned to say no even if people look at me funny. I learned not to approach vendors outside of official channels, and I learned that misplaced humor also has a cost. He looked at me, he nodded. The temporary disqualification you have would prevent us from placing you in a role related to purchasing, but the position is in a content front without vendor management. If you pass the technical tests, we will talk. I took the test, I passed. They offered me a fixed-term contract for 6 months, fair salary, no variables. I accepted it like someone accepting a glass of water after crossing a desert. It was not triumph, it was subsistence. I started in June, traveling by bus, with packed lunches, with a new notebook. I wrote on the first page, hygiene. Esteban, I learned from a friend, closed his agency in August. He posted it on LinkedIn with a heroic tone, new directions. 2 months later, he opened a personal profile offering consulting to entrepreneurs. He never wrote to me again. Someone told me he was thinking of moving to another city. If he did, I don't know. If he stayed, I don't know either. I only know that the circle where he used to move closed on him suddenly. And Diego went on. Sometimes a photo of him would appear on the company's social media, a team with smiles, a whiteboard full of arrows. One afternoon at the neighborhood supermarket, I saw him from afar. He was in line with the woman with short hair. I learned from third parties her name was Lucia. They were laughing about something small, a package that did not scan, the barcode reader that did not want to read. I looked at him for 2 seconds, and for the first time since everything happened, I did not feel that pull in my sternum. Just a strange stillness. I hid behind a cereal aisle, not out of fear, but out of respect for what no longer belonged to me. When I came out, they were gone. One might think that this is where it all ends, but stories like to close with a clear postcard. Mine arrived in October at a small event for a foundation that supports young people to study technical careers. I was invited to give a content workshop as a volunteer. I accepted because it was a Saturday, because there were no vendors, because I needed to feel that I was useful for something. I arrived with markers, post-it notes, and a smile that I built for myself like someone building a bridge. Halfway through the workshop, the door opened. A group in foundation t-shirts came in, and behind them a donor who had financed data scholarships that semester. It was Diego. He saw me. I saw him. There was no startle. He approached at the end, when the kids had already gone out for a break. He stood 2 steps away, close enough to talk, far enough not to invade. Hello, Laura. Hello, Diego. Good workshop, he said, looking at the door where the kids had left. I saw the part where you explained stories with structure and without extra adjectives. It was good. Thanks. I put away a marker in silence. I brought you this. He took a small paper bag with the foundation's logo out of his backpack. It is for the classroom library. A style book that helped me a lot. It is appreciated. I took the bag. It weighed little. He nodded. There was a silence that before would have asked us to fill. Not this time. I'm glad to see you are well, he finally said. I searched for the word, functioning. He smiled slightly. Sometimes that is the best one can be. He paused. I'm leaving. Lucia is with the data kids. I did not want to interrupt. Take care, I managed to say. You too. He left. I saw him take 2 steps and stop as if he had forgotten something. He turned his head. Thanks for the ring, he said softly. I nodded. Someone called us from the door. Lucia had a notebook with formulas and a slight accent I did not know. Diego joined her. They left together. There was no cinematic redemption, no hug, no someday. There was that simplicity, he in his life, me trying to rebuild mine from a lower step. If this were Reddit, here I would put the updates. I moved into a room. I learned to cook with little. I became an expert at saying no. Esteban closed his business. Diego got a promotion. Camila and I are still friends through thick and thin. There is no other twist than that. There is no miracle. There is a consequence that held over time. And his revenge, if that word even fits, was so methodical that it did not need volume. He showed me once what I had caused and let the system do its thing. He humiliated me in front of everyone when he put the video on the screen. Yes, but the real lesson was everything that came after, when there was no longer a screen and yet my actions were still being projected on walls I did not control. Today, when they ask me what I learned, I don't give speeches. I say this. Adult games are not games if someone does not consent or if there is work and reputation in the same room. I say that 30 seconds can cost a whole year of rebuilding. I say that shame does not kill you, but it rearranges your life in a different way. And I say, above all, that there are revenges that don't shout, they just point. They are the worst. Before closing this text, I opened for the first time the small box with the photos Diego left me. There is one of us in a park, me with his jacket on, him with a smile that did not know the future. I did not feel guilt when I saw it. I felt a mixture of gratitude and mourning. I put it away. I turned off the computer. I went to wash a cup. I thought about the kids at the foundation and the homework I gave them, to write a story without embellishments. This is mine. Without embellishments, without excuses, with an ending. That does not get better for me, that I had a hard time accepting and that for him was an improvement, a cleaner, more his own life.